Have you ever had it when you know that band that you used to love when you were at uni or at college? You know, that real left field quirky choice that no one had really heard of. You know, when they all of a sudden, they hit the mainstream. They had that one big hit and then soon everyone loved them. And then you had to go around explaining, oh yeah, but I really liked all their old stuff. I liked them when nobody heard of them, they were quite cool. You felt a bit cheated by them almost, because they become so popular. Genesis were a bit like that. You know, when they used to be fronted by Peter Gabriel, sort of like in the 1970s. And then the 1980s when it was Phil Collins took over. And then soon all of a sudden, every yuppie had a copy of Invisible Touch in their BMW. And this is coming from a man who's a massive Genesis and massive Phil Collins fan. Because that's a little bit like how I feel about Audi. Because this once great kind of left field choice that only those in the know would choose over the ubiquitous BMW and Mercedes-Benz has hit the mainstream. Where once there was things like longitudinal 5-cylinder turbocharged engines and quirky quattro drivetrains, there's now the kind of generic styling and the kind of blacked out sub-sporting trim levels that we've come to expect from its rivals. And so what else can we expect from them now than a slightly sort of like sporting version of their all-electric, largish, expensive SUV, just like BMW have done with the iX and Mercedes-Benz have done with the EQE SUV. And here it is. Welcome to this week's road test review. Welcome to the Audi SQ8 e-tron. And as always, welcome to AutoEV. So yes, what we are left with is a large, premium badged, expensive SUV that tries to convince us about its responsibility by being all electric while still retaining a little bit of sportiness as well by being more powerful and having big fat wheels and tyres attached to it. Just like we've come to expect from the others. Or am I being a bit harsh here? Because in fairness, Audi were one of the first. You see, the big e-tron, as it used to be called, was not only one of the first of the large all-electric SUVs from Germany's Big Three, but it was also the first that came out in a sort of sporting pretension, because the original e-tron was the e-tron S. It's tri-motor, three-motor kind of sort of like performance-orientated version of that. So all this actually is that updated car, because of course, last year we saw the e-tron being rebadged as the Q8 e-tron. And of course with Audi's S badge nomenclature going against its sporting models, that's what we have here. So as I say, am I being a little bit harsh on this car? Or is there something lurking underneath this one that can convince me otherwise? But before we start, let's take a quick look at what the new Audi SQ8 e-tron is all about. So Audi's tri-motor performance-orientated version of the largest e-tron SUV returns with its new SQ8 badging to bring it in line with the brand's new range nomenclature. The SQ8 e-tron is Audi's most powerful variant of the large electric SUV and is available in both standard SUV and sportback body styles, just as before. It comes with one battery size, a usable 106 kilowatt-hour unit that can see the car travel up to 276 miles on a single charge according to WLTP figures. As before, the S model features three motors that deliver a peak power output of 496 brake horsepower. And it's priced from just over £97,000 for the conventional SUV body style to over £117,000 for the range-topping sportback before any options fitted. Which is a lot of money. But then it's a premium product, so should we not expect a premium price? The question is it worth it? Well, of course, the only way we can find that out is by putting it through the actual road test review that car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric car. The AutoEV one, of course. Now, we have reviewed the standard Q8 e-tron. We did that last year. The car was launched, or it was shown for the first time 2 years ago. We got our hands on a standard Q8 e-tron last year and did a review on that car. How would you know that? Well, you'd know it if you were subscribed to the AutoEV channel. So whilst we've got it in our mind, just go and do that now. I'll wait for you. Go and press the subscribe button now. And then once you've done that, if you press the bell button, you get notified when a new video, like this one, is uploaded and gone live. So if you do that now, then we'll get that out of the way first, yeah? Excellent. Oh, if you enjoy the video, then make sure you give it a thumbs up. And of course, as always, just leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the cars we review, such as the new SQ8 e-tron, and of course the AutoEV channel as a whole. Right, styling wise, not really changed a lot, have they? I mean, it does look like the old car. There are some differences, like there was with the Q8 e-tron, although they look the same. These are new LED matrix headlights in the car here. Oddly enough, however, the Q8 e-tron that I drove last year had this section underneath the grille illuminated. That's an option, and there's a lot of options on this, or you can have on this car, and I will get to that a bit later on in the review. This is a black edition, despite the fact that it's blue. Come on, Audi, have a word for yourselves. But that's why you've got this kind of blacked out kind of front end to the car, whereas before it all used to be silver. I must admit, I didn't really like all that silver on the old car. I do prefer it looking like this. So they have improved the styling a little bit. You don't have that slatted grille anymore. You've got the kind of little the holes through the kind of checker plate hold grille there. These are designed to mimic, I think, smaller versions of the big grille through it. So I do like that, I prefer that. And your cooling's done down at the bottom there. So despite that being a kind of fake-ish grille, it does let air flow in to help with this bit cool the airflow down there. And it's Audi, so there is a lot of aero work at the car. You've got these kind of side curtains, these air curtains, sorry, at the side here, which channels airflow round and then round down the side of the car. So that's quite cool. New Audi, the new rings of Ingolstadt are two-dimensional now because everyone's going that way rather than having three-dimensional badges. No idea why. I'm sure somebody out there will tell me there's a design reason for that. But yeah, it's two-dimensional now and it looks a bit flat and plain in my book, obviously. I think there's some tech behind here as well. As we move forward, there's some kind of radar bits in there, and there's a wee front-mounted camera just nestling in the middle of the middle two rings there. Reprofiled front splitter, again, helps with the airflow around the car. But yeah, it's pretty much what we've seen before. Now, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe it is. But let's go around the rest of the car and we'll have a chat about it at the end, yeah? See, the thing with the e-tron was, and this is the weird thing about it, is the size of it, because it is the largest of the Audi SUV, electric SUVs, and they've given it the Q8 badge to bring it in line with the Q8, which is a combustion engine, which looks nothing like this at all. It doesn't share anything at all like this. I don't know why they've badged them the same. But you think it's going to be a big car, because obviously you say it's the flagship electric SUV, and actually it's not. A guy's just walked past here saying he thought it was a Q5, and it does, especially in this sportback form. Because remember, you get it in two body styles. You get the conventional SUV, but when you have it in a sportback style, this kind of coupe-like SUV, you start to think, oh, is it actually an SUV? And it's only when you kind of get up close to it, you realise the height of it, and you go, oh yeah, maybe it is. But genuinely, I mean, I drive a BMW iX2, and it doesn't look a hell of a lot bigger than that car. Anyway, there we go. Yes, there's two body styles, conventional SUV or like this sportback style. You get two charging flaps as you used to before, one on this side, one on the other side. One only does the AC charging, which is on the near side in the UK, and then obviously on the off side you've got the combined charger, the CCS unit as well. So that's where they are. 21-inch alloy wheels. There's different styles available on the cars. Quite big old tyres on it as well. They're not really efficient tyres that they fitted to this, because they're big, chunky, big, thick Bridgestones that are on this. And you've got your S calipers here and your Audi Sport badging on the alloy wheels there. So you get the big, it's the kind of SQ8. You also get the body coloured sort of like skirts and stuff as well. So the S styling, I think they call it. Thank you, Audi, for fitting proper mirrors to this test car. You can have it with those ridiculous digital side mirrors, the camera ones. For the love of God, if you're going to buy one of these, don't tick that box. They're bloody useless. Stick with conventional mirrors. Reflective glass, ingenious. Thank you, Audi, for sticking with that on this car. Again, lower half, body coloured, little black, sort of like section in there, because obviously this is the black edition, and then you get your kind of lettering in there, your little model designation on the pillar there. Privacy glass at the back, and as I say, slopes back into this sport back profile. Ooh, sporty. Oh, round the back. Oh, we've done lots round here. Have you? It's got the light bar, as you'd expect, across. I think the lights are actually redesigned inside that to do different animatronics as they light up at night and stuff like that. And again, the kind of flatter two-dimensional Audi 4 rings there. And of course, new badging, SQ8. Rather than just e-tron. So in some respects it's not as confusing maybe as it used to be when you said you're an e-tron, and then when somebody said they had a Q4 e-tron, you're going, well, how does that work? So they have made it a bit more kind of conventional in terms of the range and make it a bit clearer to people where this car sits within the range. So fair enough, Audi, that's fair enough. Right, lovely integrated high-level rear brake light at the top there. I really like that way that's neatly integrated. And that is one thing about Audi design. They do look at really neat little touches, and the design of the car is very nice, and certainly bits around it where they've done certain things work really well, and that's one of them I like, that it's not this big standout thing where you can't see it so well, but as soon as it lights up it's there. Really nice that. Bit like the front, you've got the kind of black lower half here, which again they tell me is redesigned and reprofiled for aero. Okay, I'll believe you. Diffuser kind of work going on there, and again the e-tron logo embossed into the rear bumper. No rear wiper because it's the sport back. Argument says, do you need it when it's this kind of this type of raked screen? Probably not in some respects, but I just like them. I would personally probably go for the standard body style if it was me, because I think I'm not a big lover of these kind of coupe SUVs, despite running one as my daily driver. Right. There's not really an awful lot to talk about in terms of the design of this car that we haven't already said before. Audi have adopted a very kind of evolutionary rather than revolutionary kind of process when it's coming to redesign this car, to the point where you're actually questioning what they have done at all. There are some differences around it, but they have left well alone. Now, in some respects, I do understand that, because I always thought the e-tron was quite a handsome looking car. But we're 5 years on now, Audi. You know, things have changed, and it is sort of like, you are kind of questioning, well, is that the new one? Is it not? And if you had the kind of previous car and Audi were asking you to trade up, would you maybe not expect it to look a wee bit different to your last car? Or are you happy with the fact that it looks the same and it doesn't look like you've changed your car? We'll talk about that when it comes to the price section a little bit later on. But in terms of the design, as I say, it's a good looking car, but I'm not sure they've done enough. What do you think? Should they have done more? Should they have changed the car a little bit more when they moved it from the e-tron to the Q8/SQ8 e-tron? Or should they just have kept it the way it was? Adopting the philosophy, if it's not broke, let's not fix it. Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, boot space wise, believe it or not, is down on the old e-tron, and this is 528 litres of boot space that you get in the Sportback. You roughly get another 40 litres if you go for the SUV body style, so the normal kind of conventional body style. But still, 520, it's not bad. It's bigger than the BMW iX, one of its main rivals. And as you can see, it fits 3 of the 4 AutoEV suitcases. Do you know what? My family, I'm going to buy them suitcases for their Christmas this year, because every time one of them goes away, it seems to be our suitcases they borrow. So basically, you'll get 4 of the suitcases in there, plus more beside. You can see there's plenty of room back here for extra bags and rucksacks and all the rest of it. Now, if you fold that rear seat there, and it's a 40-20-40 split. So if you fold down the rear seat, that will take the total capacity available up to 1,567 litres. So it's a good ample space that you've got. And you can see you've got this kind of rigid style kind of parcel shelf that you can remove. Then obviously the second part that fits to there. There's a little bit of underfloor storage as well. It's quite a deep well at the back here. There's no spare tyre. But of course, with the e-tron, you also get, Q8, SQ8 e-tron, you also get under bonnet storage, which is where your cables go. So I've always liked that. I think it's a very neat solution that Audi do. But in terms of the practicality back here, I think that's a decent enough boot size for most people. Again, nice Audi touches. You get the nice kind of chromed luggage tie down bits there. There's no kind of pockets and stuff there, but the boot size, sorry, the boot shape itself is quite nice and rectangular. There's no big intrusions coming into it, and it's a relatively flattish, lowish thing to get suitcases up into. I mean, it's lower than my waist, just about my thigh level. So if you're lifting kind of suitcases in, or wheelchairs or pushchairs or whatever, it's not too bad for lifting over the top. But yeah, I'd say it's all right. Now, rear space is something that the e-tron's always done very, very well with, I feel. There's bags of room back here, even in this Sportback, guys. I know I'm only 5'8", but I think even at 6 foot, you would have plenty of headroom here. There's certainly a vast amount of leg room and foot space. So that's my driving position. As I say, I'm 5'8". Look, absolutely bags of it, just loads of it. And as I say, I can get my feet underneath these sport seats without any problem at all. Even if that seat was back a little bit further, they've got a little bit of kind of scooped out where your kind of knees would be, so that would be fine. Yeah, I don't think most people are going to struggle back here. I think that's absolutely no problem at all, really. Would you get 3 across? You probably would, in fairness, because there is pretty much a flat floor. The only downside is where the rear climate controls are. This bit of the rear console kind of protrudes a little bit, so as you're sliding across, it's something to catch your shin on, so you just got to be careful of that. But certainly, 3 kids in here wouldn't be an issue at all. There's ISOFIX points, which again, what I love about Audi, the nicely neat little kind of plastic covers. I mean, they're going to get lost, let's be honest. But if you pop them in a wee kind of, one of those little Ziploc bags or something, and stick them back in the house, God, you can tell my age, can't you? Then you won't lose them or leave them somewhere. But yeah, I like the fact that the ISOFIX points are covered. When you take them out, they're easy access. All right, we have got a flip down armrest, and we have a very, very flat, very, very shallow storage bin in there. However, no cup holders. There's no bottle holder in the back of this armrest. So you then have to rely on putting the bottles down in the door bins, which are deep, to be fair, and they have got a sort of like a rubber lining down at the bottom. But this is where I start to lose a little bit of, I don't know, respect is maybe the wrong word, but I just start to think, well, hang on a minute, Audi, because not only is there no bottle holders back here, there's no USB connectors. I never noticed this on the last car I had. But there isn't, and I checked with the spec of the car, you have to option them. And not only do you have to option them up, you have to have them as part of a pack, which also includes a panoramic sunroof for some bizarre, I think they call it Technology Plus package. Now I'm going to talk about pricing, obviously in the pricing section, but there's no panoramic sunroof as standard. There's no heated rear seats as standard. That's another option that's part of the technology pack. And there's no USB ports in the back. What? At this level of car? Yeah, well, fair enough. As I say, you got big door bins there, that's fine. There's some face vents up here. There's some coat hooks on the pillar as well, as look at the top there, and map reading lights above me there. And obviously you've got the kind of netting style mat pockets in the backs of the front seats, because they're just going to get saggy and loose and look like poo in about 5 years' time, in my opinion. But there you go. And some face vents down there. But yeah, enough space, good storage in terms of door bin depth and mat pockets and stuff, but come on, Audi, where's the connectivity you're going to need for your kids back here? And their water bottles, there's no cup holders back here. There's no USB-C ports, and you've got to pay extra for a glass roof on this level of car. You know how they didn't change the outside? Not really done anything in here either. They have, in fairness. They've changed little bits and pieces, but in fairness, it is what it is. It's what came before on the old e-tron S. Sorry, the fan speed's a little bit high because it's warm outside today. Now, the Audi interiors were always a real kind of big plus points for the cars. And in many ways it still is. However, I am starting to, like I did with when I drove the e-tron GT RS, I just feel that we need to see something different now, Audi. We really do. Your interiors were great. They have been for years, but it's just, you're just turning out the same old stuff. And again, it's the feeling of feeling that you've bought something a bit more special, especially at this price point, that I think needs to be considered the interior. I'm not going to be completely negative. Let's start with the kind of good points. The build quality, as you'd expect from Audi, is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. You get nice kind of squidgy rubber at the top here and all the rest of it. Everything feels like it's absolutely built to last. It's not, you know, it's rock solid and all the rest of it. The screens, obviously it still has the kind of 3 screen layout. So you've got your virtual cockpit, which is standard on this car. The virtual cockpit plus, I'll talk about in a wee second. So that's the dials and obviously the way you can configure that how you want it. Then you've got your main infotainment and system screen that sits on the top, and then your heating and ventilation control, which is down here. So there's your 3 screens. And there are some physical buttons around the vehicle as well, you know, the nice ones, the kind of volume control knob down here for the radio, plus on the steering wheel as well you get the volume control. Nice. They haven't gone for the touch sensitive buttons like some of the Volkswagen group have. You know, they're proper physical buttons you've got to press. Nice column stalks that feel solid when you move them. They've got a nice click action to them. So that's all good. The other thing with the screens I've always liked about the Audis is when you touch the screen, you get that nice little click. You know, you've done it. You know, a nice little click and that little feedback. You know, little haptic feedback that you get from it. I really like that. And it, you know, it's quite slick to use. You know, it moves along. It's a bit dark looking as well, I think, now. I mean, you know, even on a bright day like today, it just seems very dark. That's my only kind of thing about it. But, you know, it looks like the screen that my mate's got on his Q7 TDI. You know, it just, I don't know, it needs to feel a bit more now. Other people are doing it better. You know, you look at something, okay, yes, you know, it's a bit more, but you look at the Mercedes-Benz EQE with its big screen, it's hyper screen. Okay, I'm not, you know, condoning that everyone should go and spend $8 on the hyper screen, but at least it's different. You know, the BMW, you know, wraparound screen, the operating system 9, like I've got my X2, just feels a bit nice and a bit more modern than this. This just feels a bit last generation. It feels like an iPhone 12 and an iPhone 15 world. That's what I mean. I mean, obviously, by the time this video comes out, we'll be on iPhone 20, but so that, you know, that comparison will be null and void. But you know what I'm saying? That's what it feels. It just feels like it was just, I don't know, they move it on a bit. Okay, so that is my first kind of wee bugbear as well. It just doesn't feel like it's special enough in some respects. However, it's easy to use, it's clear, and if you're used to Audi, you know, if you're coming from an Audi, you've been an Audi driver for a while and you're moving into this one, you're not going to feel that this is alien to you at all. I do want to spend a little bit of time just discussing, obviously, the virtual cockpit, because I do like it. Obviously, what you can do is change the view here. So you can go from no big dials and a small screen. You can also then have a bigger screen in the center. You can have it so that you know, get your navigation mirrored up there, or you can change it back. So you've got the big dials with the small map. It's quite nice and it's really configurable. I will maintain it's not quite as nice as Peugeot's iCockpit. I think they do it better now, with the kind of 3-dimensional thing. I think Peugeot have got the style thing going on with theirs, but this runs at a good second, I would say, in terms of the clarity and what you can do with this screen in front of the driver. Okay, you also do get a standard head-up display on the SQ8 e-tron, so that comes up there, and again, it's nice, it's clear, it's in your line of sight and easy to see. Right, Valcona leather on these seats. This is standard. This kind of, you know, diamond quilted kind of leather on these sports seats is standard. Now these are nice, okay? These are really, really nice. They do hold you well. They are electrically adjustable, which is good, obviously. You can manually pull the squab out. Do like that. Give you a bit more support underneath the thighs. And the driving position on the whole is very, very good. However, here's another wee bugbear. A manual bloody steering column. On a car is 6 figures and I've got to move the steering column by pulling a lever and moving it. Come on, what's going on? I mean, it's, you know, again, the wheel itself is nice. You know, it's got a nice thick, I like the slightly thinner rim that Audi do rather than the thick wheel of my BMW. But come on, Audi, why are you doing it with a manual adjustment? That's just cheap. You know, these German manufacturers, they've got to take, you know, I know it works just as well. My dad would say, well, it's just another thing to go wrong, Brian. But he had an electric adjustable steering column in his 1998 Lexus LS400. Why is it not electric on a 2024 Audi, the pinnacle of automotive technology? God. Anyway, the wheel itself is nice, slightly flat bottomed as all S wheels are, 3-spoke design, paddles behind for the adjusting the regeneration on the brakes, and some physical buttons up the side there for your lights up on here. You've got electric memory on the seats. The memory systems are located down in the doors. As I say, don't go for the virtual mirrors, because then you'll get these silly screens here which don't work and are useless as far as I'm concerned, so don't option them up. The centre console area I quite like, in fairness, although it's kind of filled in here, so there's no under kind of console storage. The storage itself is quite good. You've got 2 cup holders which you can fold out the way, so if you're not using them for your water and your coffee, you can fold them away and just have it as a storage tray, and it's got a sliding cover over the top as well. There is a wireless charging pad which is on the kind of vertical rather than the horizontal down the side there, which I do find a little bit irritating to try and get your phone out, but that's a first world issue. At least it's got it. And there's a 12-volt socket down there as well. There is a USB-C port in there and a cable for connecting a USB-A in there. As I say, there's some physical buttons here in front of this grip here for the transmission, for your parking sensors and cameras and stuff like that, and your stop start. The usual thing here, so you've got this. I like this. A lot of people don't. I like this Audi transmission thing where you put your hand on it and then just flick the trigger underneath to go into drive or reverse, or click the end to go into park. I like that. I think that works well. And then underneath here there is a tiny bit of storage in that centre armrest, which you can adjust for height. Glove box, it has one, and it's actually quite big. You get more than one set of gloves in there, which is good. So yeah, it's kind of just the same as we're used to. Do you know what I mean? It's Audi. The last point I'm going to make, and I have criticised obviously quite a lot of this car so far, and this one's quite a big one for me. You know, as I say, we're in 2024 now. And we know that one of the main buying criteria of people, especially in the EV world, is sustainability. You know, we're talking about recycled materials, using different materials to, you know, to sort of do the interior of cars. You know, we've seen it with even like Kia, Hyundai, you know, when they're talking about, you know, putting all the 10 must-have recycled materials that goes into the interior of their cars. And then when you look at sort of the different seat materials that people like BMW, Polestar, you know, rivals for Audi, what they're doing. And we have Audi just churning out the same thing again and again with no message of sustainability. There's no talk about how recyclable any of this is. You know, where the leather on the seats actually comes from. There's no talk of that in any of their sales stuff. So when you go onto their website, they don't talk about you know, the sustainability efforts. You go onto Polestar website, the sustainability report is on the first page. You can read it there. And you look at the BMW iX on its website, you know, it talks about the use of materials that in its construction and what they've done and how they've approached it. There's a lot of talk of that. On Audi, there's nothing. There's just a load of option boxes for you to tick. So that's the big thing that I'm really disappointed with in the interior of the car. There's just no talk about it. And I think times changed, Audi. You've got to start talking about things like this. If it is recyclable, great. Don't feel ashamed about it. Tell us about it, because that's what's going to turn people onto it. But don't hide it, because I feel like you're maybe hiding something else at that point. So yeah, again, like the outside, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with the interior. It's just I'd like to have seen something a bit more than what we've got. Right, now the big change with the Q8 SQ8 was the battery capacity. They've increased it. It's a much bigger battery on the car now. 114 kilowatt hours, I think it translates to a net capacity, a usable capacity of 106 kilowatt hours, which gives a WLTP range of 276 miles. What? Are you serious, Audi? What's going on here? My BMW iX2 long-termer has a 64.8 kilowatt hour battery, and that will do 258 miles on the WLTP scale. And I took that car to Scotland the other week, and that was doing, I would suggest, I got over 220 odd miles, and it was just dropping below the 10% at that point. So certainly over 230 miles, and that's at motorway speeds. This car's got 95% charge in it, according to the dashboard, and it's saying it's got 225 miles in it. So the reality is what you're looking at is around about 240 miles on a full charge from a 106 kilowatt hour battery. Where's the efficiency in this? Charging speeds. 170 kilowatts, so again up on what it used to be, which is okay. You do your benchmark 10 to 80% in 31 minutes, you know, that's all right. CCS charger obviously on the driver's side here. If you're charging up from a home wall box, then you're looking at 15 hours because it's such a big battery. But the car does have an onboard 11 kilowatt charger, so if you've got faster three-phase electricity, maybe at your workplace or something, then you can bring that down if you're using one of those faster chargers. However, no talk of vehicle to grid, no talk of vehicle to load, 800 volt architecture, there's none of that. Vorsprung der Technik is what Audi used to say. I'd say progress through technology. I'd say you're progressing backwards, personally, Audi. Where's the efficiency in this? A 106 kilowatt hour battery and you're only going to get 230, maybe 240 miles out of it. It's not good enough. Now, when we first drove the old e-tron S, as this car used to be known as, it was a 3-motor car. So you had 2 motors mounted on the back axle, 1 on the front. It's the same here. That's exactly what they've done. Combined, the peak power output is 496 brake horsepower. It's just over 500 PS in new money. However, let me be very, very clear about that. It only delivers that when you're in the sport mode. So the transmission, when you've got normal park, reverse, neutral and drive, and then you've got sport mode there, not the driving mode, the actual sport on the transmission. When it's in that, that's when it delivers that amount of power. And that's when it'll do its 0 to 60 time of 4.5 seconds. If you just flick it back into drive and you do a 0 to 60 time, you'll find that it does it in 5 seconds. Now, let's put that into context, okay? My BMW iX2 long-term test car has 313 brake horsepower, I think it is, dual motor, and it does 0 to 60 in just under 5.5 seconds. So this is only half a second quicker than that, and it's a lot more powerful. And it's down to the weight of the car again. So again, the performance isn't exact. It's a bit like the styling. It's not exactly improved that much, if anything, from what was there before. And that's what I mean. It's kind of just the same as what went before, without any real gains. Now, I'm conscious that I am sort of like coming down quite hard on this car, and I don't want you to feel that I am just constantly having a go at this, because if you jump in this car and drive it, it's a really nice car. It is. You know, most people will jump in it and go, oh yeah, this is lovely. And it is. It genuinely is. It's a very, very nice car to drive. It's a really nice driving position. As I say, everything feels very much of a quality. You know, I suppose in some respects, there'll be some people who jump in it and go, oh, that's quite quick. But what I'm trying to say is it's just from what went before it that doesn't feel any progression, that doesn't feel anything different to what was there with the e-tron S in that sense. It's not all bad, as I say, don't get me wrong. The ride quality, I happen to say, is very, very good, considering it's on these big 21-inch wheels. The ride and big, thick Bridgestone tyres. You know, it's on really kind of big, chunky steamroller tyres. The ride quality is very, very good. It's air suspension, in fairness, so you'd kind of expect it to be reasonably good, I would think. And it is. It is. You know, the ride quality itself is very good. There's very little in terms of road surfacing that really upsets the car. I haven't driven it on a much of a harsh surface. There's a particular section of the M25 close to where I live, round in Surrey, where it's just, you know, you get it, some cars on there, and the road surface is just, oh, it's so coarse, it just, you know, resonates through the car. I would think those big thick tyres would probably cause it to do that, but that's more a fault of the road rather than the car. My Jeep doesn't perform particularly well on that, so I'm not going to blame that to the car. So the suspension is quite good. The brakes are also not bad. The brakes are fairly decent. Now, you've got different levels of regeneration you can have. So you can ramp up the regen via the paddles behind the steering wheel. You know, to also go to from off through 3 different settings, I think it is. Sorry, just come off this roundabout. So you've got 3 different levels of brake regen, depending obviously on what you want. Oh good, the level crossing's down. That'll give me plenty of time to sit and talk to you without even moving. Brilliant for showing you how the performance and handling section is, sitting at a level crossing. So the brakes are okay, the brakes are fine, you know. The steering, now the steering's all right. This Audi steering has never been particularly communicative in terms of sort of like, you know, whether it's sports cars or it's saloon cars, and pretty much that's the same here. It's got a lightness to it when you're on sort of like, you know, at low speed and things like that. And even just sitting still, turning the wheel, I could be kind of turning the wheel on a games console. You can't really feel anything happening underneath the car. So when you're in a corner with the vehicle, again, it's sort of, it's not really talking to you. Again, I appreciate it's not a sports car. It's not a Lotus Elise or a Porsche 911 where it needs to be, you know, sort of like, you know, giving you a lot of feedback. But I'm just thinking, you know, for the level of money that it is, and for the fact that Audi sort of like portray this as their sporting SUV flagship type of car, it just doesn't feel good enough. It's a real kind of 75% car. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, it's, you know, to 90% of people, it'll probably be very, very good. To that last 10% of people that are going, it just felt it'd be a bit more. I'm just going to go back to the brakes for a second, because what I did forget to tell you about, what is very good, however, is the way that they've set the brakes up. Because how Audi have done it is they've tried to make the transition from the motor regen to the physical brakes as almost as imperceptible as they possibly can. And I have to say, they've done a very good job of that. So when you put your foot down on the brake, you don't know that it's not the brakes actually stopping the car. You don't know that, for instance, the majority of the time it's the motor regen that's pulling the car up. So the brake pedal feel is quite nice. And as I say, the steering's okay. It's just not as sharp as I'd like it to be. Now the refinement, you know, we've always kind of the e-tron GT. I really love that car, and I took one of those to Scotland last year, and I said that the refinement in that was off the chart. It's really good. Again, this could be better. It's okay, but I wouldn't say it is as good as other cars in its class. When you look at, say, the BMW iX, there's no acoustic glass on the side of the car. You know, you'd think, again, this sort of premium product, this sort of price level, with the cars that it competes with, you would expect a little bit more refinement in terms of stuff like that. There isn't. There's not much road noise. There's a little bit of wind noise, certainly at higher speeds. But again, these mirrors, I would sacrifice that. I think it's coming from the mirrors, and I would sacrifice having that wind noise for the sake of having those mirrors, rather than going for those silly digital camera ones. So I will put up with the wind noise from the mirrors because of that, to give me the better visibility back. So that's something to credit with. You're willing to do that. But there's the noise from the car. There's that kind of whine from it, and I'm not sure I want it. And it's kind of always there. It's just there in the background, and when you sort of like, when you kind of tune your hearing into it, it is always there. You know, they haven't done something like, you know, put different sound effects in it, you know, like BMW do, like Mercedes do, like Porsche does, you know, that kind of thing. Again, it's just, I feel like they just haven't tried. That's what I feel like. They've just, we'll just tweak it, stick a new badge on it, and we'll charge the same old money. I'm frustrated, because Audi should be better than this. That's what's annoying me about this car. that it should be better. And not just because of the price, but because it's an Audi. Because Audi should be better than this. And I just feel that they're not, and they just haven't tried. And that's where I'm really disappointed with them. And then ultimately disappointed with this car. I will quickly just recap on a couple of other things you're probably going to want to know about. You've obviously got the different drive modes, which you can go into select here. Drive select button, which is down here. And then you've got efficiency, comfort, sport, dynamic and individual. Efficiency, comfort, auto, dynamic and individual. My apologies, not sport. So when you put it into kind of dynamic, everything sharpens up. The steering does weight up a little bit, but again it's okay, it's fine, but it's just not the pin sharp driver's tool that they might have you believe. And then when you put your foot down, yeah, I mean, it accelerates well, you know, there's a good prediction, and it's linear and it's delivery and it's fine and all the rest of it. But so is the standard Q8 e-tron. I don't understand why this one should command such a price premium and such a price premium over other cars that I genuinely think do it better. Sorry. But it is frustrating and annoying that it should be better than this. Now you're probably thinking all the way through this review I have been a little bit harsh on this Audi. You know, and that's fair enough. I probably have been a little bit. And I did say when I retested the Q8 e-tron last year that I could see the appeal with it in some respects, especially if you've been an Audi driver up until now. So to move into something like, you know, like a slightly updated version of it, I could see why people would do that. However, when we get to the price section, this is where it all falls apart for me for the SQ8 e-tron. Okay, let me explain. And I'm sorry for the iPad, but I've got quite a lot to say about this, and I wanted to get these figures down. So, you know, so forgive the fact I'm reading off this. Right, so if you want an SQ8 e-tron, then basically the price point starts at £97,000. That's for the SUV style, body style, yeah? 97 grand starts at, okay? If you want the Sportback, like I've got here, then you're just a few quid short of six figures. £100,000. Now this is a black edition car, which is the sort of like the lower rung. I think there's two trim levels. There's this, and then there's the Vorsprung edition, which is a lot more expensive. Excuse me. So if you want the black edition, the only option that's fitted to this car is this ultra blue paint. Very nice, it's lovely, but that takes it up over £100,000 for this car. There's no other options on it whatsoever. Okay? Now, £100,000 for a car that isn't really that quick in some respects, will only do roughly 240 miles on a full charge and looks identical to the car that it replaced that came out 5 years ago. It gets a bit worse, okay? Because when we talked about the equipment level, when I was in the back of the car there, that's all options, okay? So if you want the panoramic glass sunroof, which you kind of would expect on a car of this prestige at this price point, that's an option, and it's part of a pack. You can't have it as a single option, and you've got to spend £2,500 on that pack. And that also gives you the grille illumination, heated rear seats, and the rear USB ports. There's Kias that have heated rear seats that are less than 40 grand. USB ports are pretty much what we expect from any car these days, don't we? Right, adaptive cruise control with lane keep assist. That's an option. You know, cross traffic alert with parking assist. Another option pack on a car that's already £100,000 before you tick any options at all. It's madness. And it's not just the initial cost price where I think that the Audi's on an absolute back foot here, because consider this, right? If you were to look at a well-known used car website that starts with an A, and you searched up the previous model e-tron S Sportback, which let's be fair, looks the same as this, bar the fact it's kind of silver at the front. It's pretty much just as fast, and isn't that much less efficient than this particular car. Then you can pick up a two-year-old, it's only 2 years old, with less than 20,000 miles on the clock. It's £37,000. 37 grand. That depreciation is savage. That's unbelievable. And if you say, well, hang on, Brian, all these big expensive German SUVs that are electric are going to depreciate. Consider this. Its main rival, the BMW iX xDrive 50, right? Same scenario. 2-year-old car, less than 20,000 miles on the clock. Similar miles, around about 17,000 miles on the clock, 57 grand. £20,000 more it's retained. It's retained £20,000 more value than this car. So depreciation, heavy depreciation, is another cost factor that you've got to consider if you are looking at the SQ8 e-tron. All right, so look, what else are you maybe going to start to consider if you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute, maybe I shouldn't just rush out and buy an SQ8 e-tron. Well, there are other cars obviously to consider, and I've mentioned a couple of them so far. Obviously there's the BMW iX, the xDrive 50, more powerful. Okay, it's not a looker, I'll give you that, you know, the Audi's a better looking car than it, but it drives well, really comfortable. And as I say, in terms of the way sort of like its modernity, in terms of its technology, its construction methods and its use of materials, it's way ahead of the Audi in that respect. Now, it's not just the Audi that's bad value for money, because if you remember, I'd road tested the new Mercedes-Benz EQE SUV a few months back, and I felt the same with it. It was an awful lot of money. But in fairness to the Mercedes, it feels a lot more modern a car. You know, the technology inside it just feels a lot more modern. And Mercedes has never been a cheap car, let's be honest with you. So, you know, again, yes, that is expensive, but as I say, in terms of how it feels inside, it just feels like another, you know, a 2 or 3 generations on from the technology that's in this car. The big problem that Audi is going to have, however, is another car that's been shown. I have driven the car. I can't tell you anything about it, however. It's the Polestar 3. Now, if you want to know what I think of the Polestar 3, then you've got to watch next week's road test review, because that's when the embargo lifts, and that's when I can tell you all about that car. How are you going to know when that's out? Well, that's simple. You make sure you're subscribed to the AutoEV channel. If you didn't do it at the beginning of the video, do it now. Go on, do it now. Click the subscribe button, push the wee bell thing, because then you get a notifier. It'll ping up on your phone or something when that one's ready to watch, and then you can watch that and you'll hear what I think about that car, and as a rival to this one. So there we go. Don't miss that, by the way. It's a really good video. I filmed it in Spain. Yeah. The new Jeep Wagoneer. Now, you might laugh at that, but Jeep, it's a real synonymous brand when it comes to sort of like SUVs. It's got a real heritage behind it, and that's a quick old car. Now, I didn't get a chance to go and have a look at it when it was recently revealed in Europe, but obviously it's a car we will review on the channel when we do get a chance. But that is a rival that's going to come, and again, it's a dedicated bespoke EV platform from the Stellantis-owned Jeep that's going to be on. So they are playing hard at this electric game now, Stellantis, and the brands within that umbrella. And they're not just cheap brands there. They've got some real sort of like, you know, sort of like top flight, sort of like, you know, premium brands within the Stellantis group. Jeep's one of them. The other one is Maserati, and that's a rival to this, the new Grecale Folgore. So that's a car that you're also going to consider if you're at this sort of like price point for this car. The other one, again, maybe a more kind of sporting SUV you're looking for, is Porsche's new Macan. Now, it's a tiny bit smaller than this car, and mind you in saying that, this isn't a big car, but the Porsche Macan is going all electric now, and of course Porsche, a real sporting brand. So again, and they've done electric. Now, I know they team up with Audi, you know, and obviously that is spun from a platform that's shared within sort of the Volkswagen group, but I think that's a car that's going to highlight the failings with this particular car. So there we go. What else are you maybe going to consider? Genesis, believe it or not, so there's the GV70, they're kind of mid-sized, slightly larger kind of electric SUV. They're bringing out a new sporting brand called Magma. I don't understand why it's called Magma, but that's it, that's what they're going to call it. Now, I was invited to go and have a look at that. I I don't have the time to go and see it. We weren't going to get to drive it, but you're going to see that car launched in a couple of weeks' time. That's a car that's also going to be this. And I know how good the standard GV70 is. So there's a car that's going to be considered against this car, maybe as well. And Genesis, you know what? Don't mock them. I mean, they're part of Hyundai Group. They've got some real good stuff going on there, real good styling going on. And I think in terms of the premium feel of the car, yeah, it's pretty much getting there. And believe it or not, I'm also going to tell you to consider the Jaguar I-Pace. It's about to go out of production, but see, in terms of dynamics, it shows a cocked hat to this car as far as I'm concerned. It's a brilliant car, the I-Pace still. Can't believe it's as old as it is. And that's how you know, I mean, Jaguar have done nothing with that car. So that shows you how good it was right at the start. Okay, its charging speed's a bit crap in terms of the kind of other stuff, you know, but the design language, the way the car drives, it's a more sporting car and it feels more agile than this car. So it's still in with a shout. And of course, as well as that, to bring it up the rear, if you are looking at a non-SUV style of electric car, sporting this brand, this kind of price point, then you may also consider something like the BMW i5, the M60 Touring, because that's got the Practicality. And of course, if you're doing that, then of course there's Porsche's new Taycan. It's just had an update as well, and I'm going to be driving that car next month as well. So the Cross Turismo, Sport Turismo version of the Taycan is also maybe a considerable rival for this. There's plenty out there that will want your money, isn't there? So here's what we like and what we don't like about the new Audi SQ8 e-tron. We like its build quality, its design, and in fairness, it is very spacious. However, we don't like, well, its poor efficiency and overall range. The interior, whilst well built, feels dated now in comparison with much newer competition. There's no real innovation in use of materials, and the lack of focus on sustainability we find disappointing. The car's high price and savage depreciation, and the fact that it's just not good enough anymore in light of that newer competition. There's no two ways about it, and there's no way to sugarcoat this at all. This car is not good enough for the money that Audi charge for it. Now, I could almost forgive it with its dated interior, you know, and the fact that it isn't really all that quick for a performance SUV. If there had been much better efficiency, if Audi had concentrated on the efficiency from the car and delivered a much bigger range and much better efficiency from the motors that they claim to have done over the previous car, but they haven't. And when you move into that interior, and even when you're looking around the exterior, there's no real sort of like change to the car. A car that was out 5 years ago, okay, it's a good looking car, I'm not denying that. But if you owned one of those and you were going to buy a new one, the same as you have before, the cost to change because of the depreciation of the car is just eye-watering for a car that really isn't that much different, which makes you then question, well, would you, or would you just hang on to the one you've got? And if you were interested in this car, wouldn't you just go and buy one of the older ones and save yourself a pile of cash? There's also the disappointment that comes from the fact that there's no real talk of sustainability in this car, recycled materials, all that kind of stuff, which we know is a key message for buyers in the EV world nowadays. And when all its rivals are doing exactly that, you can have luxury, you can have sportiness, and you can still be responsible as well, Audi. Why are you not talking about stuff like that? Why are you not concentrating on that? It just feels like a little bit of an old, sort of like yesterday's recipe reheated for today. And the world doesn't want that anymore. It's not even that quick. I'm really disappointed with Audi, because what you used to have is, when you look back, they used to be real innovators, but by following the mainstream, they've kind of fallen into this kind of trap almost of just giving us the same old stuff churned out again and again and again. You look back through the back catalogue and you had cars such as the Audi A2, a brilliant little car that was way ahead of its time and so brave of them to do it. It was a commercial flop, but by God, it was a brave car. There was the original Audi 100 and the 200 Quattro Avant. You know, they didn't look like anything else out there. They chased aerodynamics and showed that an aerodynamically looking car didn't have to be a boring looking car. The original TT, the Bauhaus design of the original TT. These are the cars that made Audi the brand that it used to be, and these are the cars that showed the magic that the company used to have. And we haven't even spoken about the original Quattro yet. Those are the cars that Audi should be proud of. But with this, they should feel exactly the opposite as far as I'm concerned. Thank you for watching yet another episode of AutoEV and of course the road test review on the Audi SQ8 e-tron. Please, as always, make sure you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Once you've done that, press the wee bell button that's down below, because as I say, that's the way you get a notification of when our next video is uploaded and it has gone live. And there is so much stuff that's coming out over the next few weeks, so please don't miss a single thing. If you have enjoyed this video, then make sure you press the like button down there, and of course don't forget, put your thoughts in the comment section down below. Have you bought an SQ8 e-tron? Am I talking out of my backside down there? Why did you buy it? Tell us all about it. Am I wrong? Please tell me what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. I'm sure you will. Now remember, we're across all social media as well, so the usuals: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, X. We're there too, so please give us a follow there, because every little bit does help the channel as well. Now, if you are in the market for an electric car, maybe it's not a new one, maybe you don't have the budget for one of these, maybe you're thinking about a used one and you think, oh, he said they're quite good value for money now, then make sure that you stay on the YouTube channel. So there's a really big Chinook helicopter about to go across now. Hi, thanks for that. The YouTube channel, 200 videos now. If there's been a new electric car that's hit the UK market in the last 4 or 5 years, we've subjected it to the AutoEV road test review. And that is the road test review that actual car buyers trust, not helicopter pilots, remember, when it comes to choosing their next electric car. I think you have to look at another website for helicopter reviews. All it remains for me to say is thank you once again for watching. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. I'll see you again soon.